We have a lot to talk about in today's recap. We have an update on Juan Soto. A surprise team has entered the mix. They have officially reached out to Scott Boras and Juan Soto. We also have a lot of talking points about players moving positions. Mookie Betts, the Dodgers are moving him back to the infield. Wilson Contreras is no longer a catcher. I'm going to talk about the fact that Aaron Judge should never play center field ever again for the Yankees. And also the Angels picked up a former Cubs pitcher who I for sure thought that he was going to be a Cub for life, but obviously that's not the way that baseball works. Before we get into all of that mess, I do want to talk about the Guardians' first free agent move of the offseason. They are bringing back Austin Hedges, not for a couple $100,000, not for $1 million, for another $4 million. What does Austin Hedges do best? He frames pitches and he brings the clubhouse together. I'm not joking with you guys. Guardians teammates have said that Austin Hedges is underpaid because of what he brings to the clubhouse and the vibes that comes along with it. To me, we're talking about a guy who has a 40 OPS plus in his career with the Guardians. He is statistically the worst hitter of all time with the Guardians. I don't understand why they don't just sign a Travis d'Arnaud as the backup and then make Austin Hedges a bench coach. Why do they keep on doing this? It is so frustrating as a Guardians fan to be teased every single year only to have it ruined by multiple free outs. I'm talking about Oscar Mercado, Miles Straw, Austin Hedges, Ernie Clement, you name it. The Guardians consistently have free out after free out in the bottom of the order, but maybe there is an actual point to this. The year that he was with the Rangers, they won the World Series, and during that year, the Guardians did not make the playoffs. When he was on Cleveland, they made the playoffs both in 2022 and 2024. Maybe he is the secret sauce and does bring those vibes. Now, the thing about baseball is if you're good at one thing, you always have a job. Like this dude for the Rays who just got $1.3 million, Jacob Waguespack. I'm sure a lot of you guys don't even know who that is. You probably just learned of him, but the only reason why he's getting that much money despite having a career 5 ERA, he has good extension and pretty good whiff rates. So if you're good at framing, if you bring good vibes, if you have good extension and good whiff rates, you'll always have a job in Major League Baseball. Some nerd out there, and I use the term nerd lightly because I'm a baseball nerd. If you dig deep into the analytics and you're just elite at one thing, again, someone will always throw money at you and try to fix you. The same thing could be happening with Kyle Hendricks and the Angels. Kyle Hendricks from 2014 to 2020 was actually pretty special. He had a combined 3.1 ERA and finished top 10 in the Cy Young, not once, but twice. And in the World Series back in 2016, he allowed just one single earned run, and he was even better than that in the championship series. It makes sense now why the Angels shipped away Griffin Canning, because obviously Hendricks is going to step in and take that spot in the rotation. Hendricks, he's going to be 35 years old, and he was awful to begin 2024, so much so that they actually relegated him to the bullpen, but after they realized they weren't going to make the playoffs, they wanted to give him a proper send-off, and to his credit, he turned in a 2.9 ERA, and he had a 64% strike rate his final 30-ish innings of last season. Maybe they can fix his sinker. Maybe they can do some magic. Maybe Jose Soriano can get in his ear and show him how to throw a proper sinker to righties, or maybe they can bring that all-time changeup back to life and somehow have opposing hitters hit 180 or 190 against that changeup. Maybe it can happen. I'm not thinking it's going to, but again, if you're good at one thing, if you have a good changeup or a decent track record, you're always going to have a spot in baseball. Before we talk about Mookie Betts going back to the infield, this is coming from the Dodgers. They're hoping that they can free up an outfield spot. I don't know if that means they're going to go for a Juan Soto or another type of outfield bat, but this is huge coming from Alex Bregman's camp. Scott Boras has officially said that Bregman would be willing to change positions to be a second baseman. I don't know if this is a kind of safety blanket considering he is going through a surgery to fix something in his elbow right now. Maybe they're simply covering their bases because third base to first is not easy. If you guys have ever stepped on a major league diamond, you would understand, man, third to first is actually pretty far. So Bregman coming out and saying, hey, I can play second base, maybe that makes a team more comfortable with giving him a lot of money because he just won a Gold Glove at third base, so it's not like he stunk it up over there, and that's why he's willing to change positions. He was pretty good with the bat as well, especially in the second half. Bregman's going to get a lot of money, and who knows, maybe Alex Bregman wants some good PR, and instead of being booed at Yankee Stadium, he'll be the new Yankee Stadium second baseman. Probably not going to happen, but imagine if it did. We just talked about Alex Bregman being willing to move positions. Wilson Contreras, he's officially moved positions. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. He is no longer a catcher. Before we talk about about that. Mookie Betts, it's been confirmed by the Dodgers that he will be an infielder in 2025, which I'm trying to wrap my head around because defensively at shortstop, he wasn't very good, especially going up the middle. He was actually a liability, if you ask me. They just picked up the 2025 option for Miguel Rojas, and Tommy Edman, he was absolutely fantastic. He was vital to the Dodgers winning the World Series as their shortstop / center fielder. So I'm confused on where Mookie's going to play because the one guy we haven't talked about is the second baseman, Gavin Lux. I know that they have slight concerns about his pivots. That was brought up in a scouting conversation, but Gavin Lux in the second half hit 305 with a 150 OPS plus, and defensively for the season, he had 3 outs above average at second base. Having a guy with that sort of offensive potential as a pretty good defensive second baseman does not come around very often, so I'm curious, will Tommy Edman play the outfield if Teoscar leaves in free agency? I don't know what's going to happen with Teoscar, but there's also reports that they're in the running for Juan Soto, so if Mookie goes to second base, are they going to trade Gavin Lux? Are they going to trade a Tommy Edman, which I don't think would be very smart because he's kind of a perfect Dodger? Are they going to let go of Teoscar for Juan Soto? The Dodgers, to me, have some of the biggest question marks to answer, but these are good questions to have. Are they going to insert Juan Soto? Are they going to trade Gavin Lux for some pieces? I mean, these are kind of first world problems and not the worst problems to have. So Bregman is fine with moving to second base. Mookie is probably going to be a second baseman. Wilson Contreras of the Cardinals is no longer their catcher. He is moving to first base, so this confirms that they are not going to bring back Paul Goldschmidt, which is another story in itself. We'll talk about that a different day because there were still remnants of Paul Goldschmidt, especially towards the end of the season, but he definitely wasn't Goldie of past. It was his first season ever with the sub 100 OPS plus, but considering what happened to Wilson when they moved him up in the box, and I say in the box, they tried to make him a better framer, so they literally moved him up towards the hitter, and because of that, JD Martinez almost took off his catching arm, so they're trying to make sure that Wilson, who absolutely mashes, stays healthy for 150 games. He's never going to be a good framer unless he's literally sniffing the hitter's kneecaps and putting himself in harm's way, so this probably makes a lot of sense fiscally just to keep him healthy. Now, my question to you is, what if the Yankees did the same with Aaron Judge? What if they let go of Anthony Rizzo? They've already basically done that because they did not accept his option. They gave him a buyout, so Anthony Rizzo is not coming back, and I don't know if they have the most faith in Ben Rice. Maybe they give a lot of money to Christian Walker, but let's say that Aaron Judge moves to first base, and that frees up center field for Jason Dominguez because Jason in left field doesn't seem like it's going to work. But then again, he's young and he hasn't really played a lot of time there, so maybe he can get used to left field in Yankee Stadium. We'll talk about Juan Soto going to left as well, but imagine if you had Jason Dominguez in center field, Juan Soto in left field, maybe an Anthony Santander in right. That's a pie in the sky idea because he'd be going to a division rival, which, I mean, it's happened before. Josh Hamilton did it. Johnny Damon has done it. Jacoby Ellsbury did the same. So it's not out of the ordinary. There are precedents that division moving is possible. Anthony Santander would be perfect in right field. And then you have Judge staying nice and healthy, playing good defense. Bryce Harper played elite defense at first base. And Bryce Harper wasn't even that great of an outfielder, at least defensively. He had a fantastic arm and he made flashy plays every so often. Same with Ronald Acuna Jr. He makes some flashy plays, has a good arm, but overall not a great outfielder. Judge to first base would make a lot of sense, but here's my definitive prediction for the Yankees going into 2025. They're going to re-sign Juan Soto. He's going to play left field. I mean, come on, bro. You're going to get paid $600 million. Learn to play left field. You are not a right fielder. It'll be Juan, Jason, and Judge. Judge will be back in right field. At least I think that's where he should be. And then the most obvious Yankee signing in a while, Christian Walker. He will be the opening day first baseman for the Yankees. And to me, that makes them infinitely better when you can go Soto, Jason, Judge, and Christian Walker at first base. That would be nuts. You know what else could be nuts? Juan Soto in a Rays uniform. According to sources around Major League Baseball, the Tampa Bay Rays have reached out to Scott Boras and the Juan Soto camp, and this is after reports came out that they also were in the running for Freddie Freeman before he joined the Dodgers back in 2022. They wanted to add some firepower to he who shall not be named, the Voldemort of baseball, the guy who used to play shortstop for the Rays. We don't talk about him or mention his name because he doesn't deserve it. The Rays are not the only dark horse team in the running for Juan Soto. Sources are saying that both the Giants and the Red Sox are in on Juan, and the Red Sox, they've been linked to Garrett Crochet as well because of their prospect capital. They have so many elite prospects, guys like Roman Anthony, Marcelo Meyer, you have Christian Campbell, and Kyle Teal. If they can flip some of those guys for a Garrett Crochet and they can add a Juan Soto, honestly, the Red Sox could be looking pretty good in 2025.